Supreme Court just issued unanimous 9-0 decision, fundamentally changing how Second Amendment applies to firearms and vehicles. And if you keep gun in car for self-defense, commuting, or traveling, police can no longer search vehicles solely because firearm present. States cannot require separate vehicle permits, and your car now receives same Second Amendment protections as your home.
Chief Justice Roberts writing for a unanimous court. Right to keep arms necessarily includes keeping them in vehicles used for transportation and security. Vehicle is extension of home for constitutional purposes. Invalidates California's loaded firearm prohibition, New York's transport requirements, New Jersey's vehicle ban, and 9 other states. Effective immediately. If you can legally possess firearm, can keep it loaded and accessible in vehicle regardless of state restrictions. Subscribe because this 9-0 decision affects 85 million gun owners who keep firearms in vehicles. And understanding what changed, which laws struck down, how traffic stops affected, and what police cannot do could be difference between exercising rights lawfully and facing a legal search. Case originated in New Jersey, where licensed gun owner Kevin Martinez kept loaded handgun in locked glove box while commuting. Traffic stop for broken taillight. Officer asked about weapons. Martinez truthfully answered yes and described secure storage. Officer searched car without consent, seized firearm, arrested Martinez for violating New Jersey statute prohibiting loaded handguns in vehicles without special permit. Martinez didn't have. Martinez challenged, arguing he had valid permits. Guns securely stored. Vehicle requirement violated Second Amendment. Lower courts upheld. Supreme Court granted. Cert and Thursday issued sweeping 9-0 reversal. Let me break down what court held, which 12 laws invalidated, how traffic stops affected, what police cannot do, and what gun owners must know. Number 1, what court's ruling holds. Vehicles are Second Amendment protected spaces. Keep and bear arms. Necessarily includes keeping firearms in vehicles. Keep, store, maintain, possess, bear, carry, transport. Vehicle is instrumentality for both. Right extends to vehicles used for personal transportation, security, shelter. Curtilage extension. Court applied Fourth Amendment curtilage concept, areas around home receiving constitutional protection, to Second Amendment. Vehicle used for personal security and legitimate travel is curtilage for Second Amendment purposes, receives same protection as home. Historical tradition under Bruin. No historical tradition prohibiting firearms in vehicles or transportation modes. Colonists kept firearms in wagons, carriages, saddlebags. No restrictions on loaded firearms and conveyances. First vehicle-specific restrictions appeared mid-20th century, 175 years after Second Amendment. Under Bruin, modern restrictions lacking founding-era analogs, presumptively unconstitutional. Rejection of state arguments. States argued vehicles create unique dangers, mobility facilitates crime, traffic stops create officer safety concerns, accidents could discharge firearms. Court rejected all. Mobility is purpose, cannot penalize constitutional right because exercised while mobile. Officer safety applies equally to homes during warrant execution. Accident risk applies to all storage. Unanimous significance, all 9 justices agreed. Even liberal justices, Sotomayor, Kagan, Jackson, joined Roberts. No concurrences, no dissents. Signals clear constitutional violation requiring unanimous repudiation. Number 2, which 12 state laws struck down? New Jersey required separate permit for loaded handgun and vehicle, even with firearm purchaser ID and handgun permit. Now, cannot prohibit loaded handguns by licensed owners. New York required unloaded firearms locked in trunk or container, separate from ammunition unless carry permit. Now, cannot impose vehicle transport restrictions. California prohibited loaded firearms in vehicles in cities unless concealed carry permit. Now, cannot prohibit loaded firearms in vehicles. Massachusetts required license to carry, not just FID, for loaded handgun in vehicle. Now, cannot impose higher license tier for vehicles. Maryland required handgun permit for loaded handgun in vehicle. Now, cannot require separate permit. Rhode Island, Connecticut required licenses specifically for vehicle possession. Now, invalidated. Illinois, Chicago prohibited loaded firearms in vehicles. Now, FOID CCL holders can keep loaded in vehicles statewide. Hawaii prohibited loaded in vehicles without carry permit. Now, cannot prohibit. Delaware, Minnesota, Oregon. Various local ordinances restricting vehicle firearms struck down. Number 3, how ruling affects traffic stops. Disclosure. Police cannot use mere firearm presence as basis for extending stop, ordering occupants out, or conducting search. Truthful answer to any weapons cannot trigger adverse action against lawful owner. Duty to inform states still require disclosure, but disclosure alone cannot justify search. Plain view modified. Previously, firearm in plain view during stop justified vehicle search under officer safety. Underruling. Lawfully possessed firearm is constitutional activity. not probable cause. Plain view of firearm, not justification for search. Officer needs independent probable cause. Searches require independent probable cause. Cannot search solely because occupant admits firearm or officer observes one. Must have probable cause of crime independent of firearm possession. Marijuana, alcohol smell, warrant, other indicators. Protective pat-downs still allowed. Terry protective pat-downs for weapons during stops remain valid for officer safety with reasonable suspicion, person armed and dangerous. After pat-down, if valid permit or legal possession, must return firearm or secure safely during stop, then return. Duty to inform upheld but limited. States requiring immediate notification, OJ, LA, TX, others, remain valid. But after notification, cannot use disclosed firearm as basis for search or extended detention unless independent probable cause. Number 4, what police can and cannot do. Cannot. Search vehicle based solely on firearm presence or admission. Seize lawfully possessed firearms without arrest. Extend stop to verify firearm legality without independent reasonable suspicion. Order occupants from vehicle solely due to firearm. PA, Vs. MIMS allows ordering out for officer safety generally, but cannot be pretextual based on firearm. Can. Protective pat-downs. With reasonable suspicion, person armed and dangerous. Totality of circumstances, but lawful vehicle possession insufficient alone. Temporarily secure firearms during stop for officer safety, reasonable. Leave in locked glove box, place in trunk, hold personally, must return after stop. Verify legal possession if independent suspicion person prohibited, prior felony, restraining order, intoxication. Arrest for violations of remaining valid laws, prohibited person possessing, stolen firearm, brandishing, threatening. Number 5, what gun owners must know. Can keep loaded in vehicles. If legally possess firearm, not prohibited, meet age requirements, comply with general laws, can keep loaded and accessible in vehicle regardless of state vehicle restrictions. CA, NY, NJ, MA, MD, CT, RI, IL, HI cannot prohibit. Secure storage recommended, not constitutionally required, but reduces theft risk and may provide legal protection if firearms stolen and used in crime. Locked glove box, console, gun safe recommended. No remaining valid laws, only vehicle-specific restrictions invalidated. Still prohibited. Prohibited persons anywhere including vehicles, school zones, gun-free, federal buildings restricted, brandishing, threatening laws apply. DUI with firearm enhanced penalties some states. Duty to inform still applies. If state requires immediate disclosure during stops, must inform. Ruling doesn't eliminate notification, only limits what police do after. Failure to inform remains violation in duty to inform states. Interstate travel easier, but complexities remain can keep loaded in destination state vehicle despite their previous transport requirements. However, assault weapons bans, magazine limits, other non-vehicle specific restrictions still apply. Cannot bring CA banned AR-15 to CA just because in-vehicle banned weapon remains banned. Documentation recommended, carry proof of legal possession, purchase receipts, permits if required, bill of sale. If stopped in restrictive state unfamiliar with ruling, documentation helps de-escalate. Some local law enforcement may not know ruling immediately. Polite education with documentation more effective than confrontation. Bottom line, Supreme Court issued unanimous 9-0 decision Thursday, holding vehicles are Second Amendment protected spaces, striking down 12 state laws prohibiting or restricting loaded firearms in vehicles. Core holding, right to keep and bear arms. Necessarily includes keeping firearms in vehicles. Vehicles are curtilage extension of home for constitutional purposes. No historical tradition of vehicle-specific firearm restrictions. States cannot impose vehicle possession requirements beyond general possession laws. States affected: New Jersey, New York, California, Massachusetts, Maryland, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Illinois, Hawaii, Delaware, Minnesota, Oregon. All vehicle-specific loaded firearm prohibitions invalidated. If you can legally possess firearm, can keep loaded and accessible in vehicle. Traffic stops changed. Police cannot search vehicle solely because firearm present or occupant discloses firearm. Plain view of lawfully possessed firearm, not probable cause for search. Cannot seize firearms from lawful owners without arrest. Cannot extend stop to verify firearm legality without independent reasonable suspicion. What police can do: protective pat-downs with reasonable suspicion. Temporarily secure firearms for officer safety. During stop, must return after. Verify legal possession if independent suspicion person prohibited. Arrest for violations of remaining valid laws. Gun owners can keep loaded firearms in vehicles nationwide if legally possess. Secure storage recommended. No state's remaining valid laws. Prohibited persons, school zones, federal property, brandishing. Duty to inform laws still apply. Interstate travel easier, but weapon-specific bans remain. Carry documentation of legal possession. Subscribe, because vehicle firearm cases are developing rapidly, and I'm tracking every court decision affecting your rights to keep firearms in cars for self-defense and travel. 9-0 ruling just expanded Second Amendment to vehicles. Understand what changed and how to exercise your rights lawfully. Next video reveals the 5 things police officers hate that you know about this Supreme Court ruling and how to assert your rights during traffic stops.